With me now is somebody that knows a little bit about open borders, and that's Fred Davis, rancher, Arizona. Now, Fred has been on our show for 8 years running, and he has been one of our most popular guests. Fred and Peggy Davis, they're cattle ranchers from Tombstone, Arizona, in Cochise County. The entire Davis family lives on the Davis Ranch, 25 miles north of the Mexican border. Fred's great-grandfather founded the ranch when he came to southern Arizona in 1867. Unfortunately, the Davis Ranch is now being overrun by illegal aliens and the Mexican drug trade. Fred Davis, thanks for coming here at the Phoenix Park Hotel. I know you and your wife make a big effort to get out here every year, and we always get an update. Since Trump has been in office, has there been any change at all to the flow of illegals coming over the border through your ranch?
You know, John, when he first got elected, it almost ended. I mean, Mexico stood back and went, this guy means business. And Jeff Sessions came to Nogales and talked about prosecuting everybody they caught. It slowed it down for quite a while, but when they figured out the Border Patrol was doing the same thing they've done for the last 20 years, it's creeping back up. And the last 6 months, the numbers are up again. They just keep moving.
So it was down for a while, but now it's just the whole thing is just right back up to where it was.
Yep.
So, I mean, we all fought to elect Trump, and he got there, and he's given ICE more tools, but there's no wall. We can't get funding for that. So it's like last years we were saying, well, we need a president to come in that understands this. Now we have one, but there's no change. I mean, Fred, what do we need to do?
Somebody's got to shake the Border Patrol up. They have been using a strategy called defense in depth that David Aguilar cooked up years ago. And even though the high brass says, well, that's gone, they don't change the way they deploy the agents. And the vast majority of them are too far north of the border. They'll tell you they're on the border, but they consider the border a 30-mile corridor between Arizona and Mexico.
So what you're saying, Fred, is they're not on the border. They're 25 miles up. So those that are coming here illegally are already over the border and in.
Exactly.
And then they have to
chase them.
And then the reports I've seen, 25% are apprehended, 75% disappear.
That's
about the average, right?
The agents right there on our borders feel they catch 1 in 6.
1 in 6. So it's not 25%.
That's not near 25.
That would be 15%.
Yeah.
Right. So 15 to 17% get apprehended. The
right.
other 84% just disappear into the country.
Right.
And then when they're captured, now that we're back to catch and release, they're just basically they're given a piece of paper and a court date released. And then 50% of those never show up. So now you're going from 15% to 7% that actually we do anything with. So 92% of those that come over the border legally are never seen again. Either they don't get apprehended or they don't show up for their date, the hearing, which all the stats say 50% just do not show.
Most of those are just loaded up and taken back to Mexico. Unless they're claiming asylum, whatever. If they're just caught, they take them and just open the gate and kick them back.
But then they just come right back over.
Exactly. That's one of the fallacies. People look at the numbers and they think, oh my gosh, they kept 600,000 from getting in the country last year. No, it means it took them one more attempt to get in the country. There was one guy caught 3 times at the Border Patrol check station in Tombstone in 24 hours. That's 30 miles north of the border. He'd catch a ride, go through the check station, they'd catch him, load him in a bus, haul him back to Mexico 3 times in 24 hours.
He just came right on back. Yeah. Unbelievable. We're with Fred Davis. He owns a ranch in Tombstone, Arizona, 3rd-generation ranch. Fred, let me ask you this. If there was a wall, first of all, would you even allow a wall on your ranch?
Well, my ranch doesn't go clear to the border. You know, most of Arizona has a Roosevelt easement on it, which is 60 feet north of the border. Ties right into the border, and that's to allow federal access to the actual international boundary. So most of Arizona has, they don't have to do eminent domain or buy a piece of ground. Some of the ranchers want a wall, some don't want a wall. There's places a wall would be great. There's places it's not possible due to terrain, water flows, et cetera, et cetera.
Do you think, based on your knowledge being there, Fred, all this time, do you think a wall, you're saying two things. There's a 60-foot easement, so if they were to build a wall, you don't need eminent domain, you don't need to go through property rights and all of that. The federal government owns that 60 feet between the international border and the private property, so they could put it there. Would it help or not? What do you think?
Oh, in places it'd be a great force multiplier, and that's what the Border Patrol calls the wall. But when you don't have agents down there on the border watching, it doesn't matter how big, how wide, how tall. I mean, they've got an 18-foot wall on a big part of the border south of me right now, but that just takes a 20-foot ladder.
Unbelievable. I mean, so they just climb right over it.
Oh, they think, oh, we've got the wall. We don't need to be down there.
Worse than ever.
Yeah.
I got to tell you, we have got to solve this, Fred Davis, and the president just needs to allocate the money and build that wall, because it can't get worse, right? Because, look, we all went through the CNN thing with kids in cages, and when Jeff Sessions tried to change it to a zero-tolerance policy, you saw how crazy everybody went. I mean, the powers to be in this country want illegals coming in. They don't want to stop it. Why do you think that is, Fred?
Well, you said it earlier. Republicans want the cheap labor, and that was what started it all, was during the housing boom back in the 80s, late 80s, early 90s, and Democrats want votes. It's simple.
It's the unholy alliance of all time. All right, Fred Davis, thanks for being with us, Fred. I really, really, really appreciate it. Thank you so much.